Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chriselle Counseling's Hope Through the Journey podcast. Life is challenging, and we're here to help by providing hope through your journey of life. We'll help you create the life balance you want and deserve. Here we talk about all things mental health and a whole lot more in a simple and easy to understand way. I'm your host, Alfred Chriselle Jr., and I'm joined by my co-host, sister, and fellow licensed professional counselor, Lettie Chriselle. How are you today, Let?
I am feeling so relaxed right now.
Good for you.
Yeah, I had a massage this morning, so I'm really ready to go.
Massages.
Yes.
I'm not there yet.
You know, you should really consider it.
I think I need to dive in.
It's very relaxing. Actually, I've also been doing a lot of reflecting over the last, new year.
Right, yeah, sure.
New things going on.
Yep.
But I decided that I wasn't going to make any New Year resolutions because in the past, I haven't done well with them.
Yeah.
So I decided...
Not a lot of people have.
What?
Not a lot of people have.
Yeah. So I decided that I'm not going to set myself up for failure so early in the new year.
Okay.
Instead, I've been thinking about my growth and experiences I'd like to have in the coming year.
Okay.
And when I think about my growth, I want to grow in my relationships with others. And one thing that I decided to do is when I'm thinking about someone, especially someone I haven't spoken to in a while, I'm going to take action.
Okay.
The action that I am referring to is that when I'm thinking about that person in that moment, I'm either going to send them a text or make a call to let them know that I'm thinking about them.
Okay.
Because there have been so many times where I think about someone and there's a memory that comes up and I think about it but I don't, I'm like, oh, I wonder how they're doing, but I don't act on it.
Yeah.
And so they don't know that I'm thinking about them and that they're important to me. Yeah. So I really want to work on that, on improving that. Okay. Get some more communication going on in my relationships, the way we talked in the past about that communication.
Yeah. It's a good plan.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Another thing that I want to do for my own personal growth is to learn to let go more. Although I have let go, I'm not going to lie, I have let go of stuff.
Yeah.
But, there's still some things that I, again, reflecting on, aware that I need to let go.
Yeah.
But specifically to let go of past hurts I may be holding on to. Oh. Yeah. And to really work on forgiving. What do you think about that? Forgiveness.
The F word.
Yes.
Forgiving.
That F word.
Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Oh boy, that is a doozy and a good one for today's podcast.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. Forgiveness is one of those things that's as close to a necessity in life as anything else, right? As food or water or clothing, right? I mean,
it really is.
Forgiveness it just helps us get unstuck in our life and helps us move forward. And forgiveness, what I'm talking about here, forgiveness, it's about forgiving others or asking forgiveness from others, but also forgiving yourself.
Exactly.
For hurt that you have caused. And it's such a heavy, heavy topic for a lot of people. And most people will they'll just kind of shy away from it. And they won't even consider forgiveness as a way to help.
Right.
Yeah, they'll just avoid it completely.
Right.
And they'll do everything else to try to solve whatever issues going on in their life. Forgiveness is really, really the key to unlocking your very best self.
That's what I'm talking about. You get me. You really get me.
Yeah.
I really do believe that once we're able to forgive a past hurt, it's an opportunity for us to let go of resentment or anger that we've been holding on to.
It really is.
And, Maya Angelou, a quote that I really like is, it's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself to forgive.
So true. I mean, forgiveness, everybody has their own idea of what forgiveness is and what it means. And so since we're all about making sure we're all on the same page, let's make sure that we're talking about forgiveness the same here. And I did a little bit of reading prior about forgiveness. And I looked up an article in Counseling Today. And for those of you that don't know, Counseling Today is a publication of the American Counseling Association. And the article was called The Selfish Act of Forgiving, And in it, the author, Lindsay Phillips, the author quotes a couple of different definitions by some different people. One of them was Jan Lemon, a professor of counseling at Mississippi College. She defines forgiveness as an unconscious attitude or release of a toxic emotion. She says it's both letting go of the resentment and replacing the resentment with mindful awareness and empathy. Oh, that's so good.
I love that. A toxic emotion.
Oh, and another professional in the same article calls forgiveness a process, whereas people uncover how they're feeling and thinking, and then they realize that they no longer want the hurt or pain to control their life. Right? So if we could just get on the same page with what that means, I mean, just absorb those a little bit. What do you think about that?
It's
different from what normally people think about forgiveness, I think.
It is, for sure. I think that when we hear forgiveness, we think either, okay, I have to apologize. I have to say I'm sorry, or we're waiting for the other person to apologize. We're waiting for the I'm sorry. And it's easier for some people than it is for others.
Yeah, it is. And we could be waiting a long time for people to ask or to forgive,
right.
to do that. Yeah. And that's where we get in trouble ourselves. But yeah, a lot of people have trouble with forgiveness. It's a hard time with it. But we need to understand that forgiveness it's a selfish act. Like the title of that article says, right? It's a selfish act of forgiveness. But it really is. It's a selfish act that we do for us primarily. Right. I mean, that's really the goal.
Right. We need to do it.
There's another great quote from Desmond Tutu, who was South Africa's former Anglican archbishop and a recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize, talking about forgiveness. And he said this, quote, "We don't forgive to help the other person. We don't forgive for others. We forgive for ourselves." And I love this quote. I mean, he goes on to say that forgiveness, in other words, is the best form of self-interest. So it's not so much about being forgiven as it is about being at peace with myself and getting rid of the hurt that gets in the way of living my life to the fullest.
That is so true. And who doesn't want to live their life to the fullest?
And that's the goal, right?
And
that's
be at peace.
Life,
yes,
right?
To be at peace. Sometimes I'll have clients that are, come in and they're struggling because of hurts that they're holding on to that occurred when they were growing up. Whether it's with a parent or a sibling. And if they're unable, we talk about different things, but if they're unable to have a conversation with that person, we then work on them being able to let go of the hurt for themselves in order for them to be able to move forward in their lives.
Right.
I explain to them, parents were doing the best that they could with the skills that they had.
Yeah.
At that time in their lives. So as we talk about it, it's like, can you see where they may have been at? And now we're looking back on it. There's a choice that you need to make.
Yeah.
You can either stay stuck in the hurt or forgive and let go.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Forgiveness, it's a choice. It's something we choose to do in our mind, right? Somebody asks like, okay, how do I start to forgive, right? How do I do it? It starts in the mind. It's a decision. It's a choice that I make. And the question we have to ask ourselves is this: is what I am holding on to, the hurt, the pain, the suffering, is it benefiting my life?
Right.
Am I a better person holding on to the coraje I feel, right?
Yeah.
In Spanish, that's a term for anger and pain, the coraje. Or would my life be better, more fulfilling, more productive if I learned to let it go? Suddenly I feel like singing this song from the Disney movie Frozen. Let it go, let it go.
Let it go.
Can't hold it back anymore.
We don't own the rights to that song. Just so we're putting that out there. All right.
Oh, wait, I can't hold it back anymore. I just realized the second part of that is can't hold it back anymore. And that is exactly why we forgive, because we can't hold it back anymore.
Right.
Because it's holding us back. It's getting in our way. But this is the conflict for so many people. They know they need to let go of the hurt, but they convince themselves, maybe because of pride, maybe because of the feeling of being hurt, that somehow it's better to hold on to it than to give into it.
Right.
And I think society plays a part here. Society tells us that giving in is a sign of weakness. Letting go is a sign of weakness. And when in reality, the truth is that It is as strong and vulnerable as you can be for yourself to be vulnerable. There's absolute personal strength and resolve in vulnerability.
Let me tell you, speaking from experience, that word you use, coraje, that just triggered me. Okay. Coraje that you're talking about, it really does interfere with daily life. Just the sound of the word, like I said, it triggers memories of times that I felt that coraje and how I allowed it to impact my life and the choices that I made. Looking back at that, for me, I guess it was about having control over whether or not I wanted to forgive. Like it's
The
almost
choice,
like I
right?
had, I had some kind
choice.
of power.
Yeah.
So that's why I was holding on to it. And in reality, though, I was stuck in these negative emotions by not allowing myself to let go of that hurt.
Yeah, and who suffered as a result?
Me.
Yeah, and I think that's the big takeaway here, the power of forgiveness. So let's dive deeper into forgiveness. And a lot of what we're going to present here comes from our dad. Thank you, Dad. He was a retired licensed professional counselor, and he really laid the groundwork for the work on forgiveness that we do with our clients today. So we've already talked about how forgiveness is the act of letting go, but let's keep in mind that to forgive does not mean we forget, right? There's an old expression, just forgive and forget. And that's just not true. The memory that we have is there. It will be there. It'll always be there.
Right.
Good memories or bad memories, right? It's going to be there. And both people experienced it. So what I have to learn to choose is to forgive so that I can move forward in my life. I also make my life easier when I choose to forgive. Life is hard enough.
Right.
But when we throw in the coraje, the hurt and the pain, and we hold on to it, it just makes our life so much more challenging. Conversely here, if we choose not to forgive, I'm risking hurting myself both emotionally and physically. Not only risking, it will happen. If I choose not to forgive and I hold all this stuff inside, I can hurt myself emotionally and physically. Mm-hmm. So I choose to forgive myself and others so that I can get rid of the hurt, the emotional hurt that interrupts my life and prevents me from moving forward. So that coraje I hold on to actually creates physical ailments also, like high blood pressure, and that's not good.
Yeah. And, going back to the emotional hurt, some people may not realize it, but emotionally, this is where the anxiety, depression, low self-esteem that you may be feeling, is, this could be the root of it. We don't realize that one of the reasons we may be struggling in life is because of a past hurt that maybe we didn't let go of, or we don't even realize that it's there, that's what it is that's holding us back.
And if you're still on the fence about whether or not to forgive, here's another tidbit of information we'll throw at you. This is coming from the same article that I was talking about earlier in the podcast. There was a 2005 Harvard Medical School study, and it was published in an e-newsletter, and it cites research suggesting that forgiveness, it reduces stress, it lowered the risk of heart disease, it strengthened relationships, it helped lessen pain and instances of chronic illness, and it led to greater happiness. I don't know about you, Lettie. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. If it's going to make my life better, I'm going to choose forgiveness. But, I get it, though. Forgiveness is hard. It's hard to forgive. It's hard to ask for forgiveness. It's hard to forgive myself, right? All the way around. Maybe it's because of the way we were brought up, the intensity of the hurt that we felt.
Yeah.
Regardless, forgiveness is a choice, and it can free you from the hurt that's been built up inside you. But it's on your timeline when you decide to do it, right? It's on your timeline. No rush. It's when you're ready.
That's right. It's a process. Like you said, it can start at any time. You choose the day, you choose the time to move forward. And you can even forgive a person who is no longer in your life. Sometimes that happens. It's someone who has died and you don't have that chance to have that conversation. You're not going to hear an I'm sorry.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you can't forgive.
Yeah, because it'll just lead to you being stuck in your life.
Right.
Not being able to let that go is going to be harmful to you in the long run. It takes practice.
Right.
Like everything else, forgiveness is a skill, and it does. It takes practice. And so try practicing forgiveness with someone that you feel comfortable asking for forgiveness from. To starters. And
come to think of it, I have a story.
Okay.
Which involves my daughter, Hannah, again.
Hannah.
Yeah, from the last podcast. She's coming back up around here.
On deck. Hands on deck.
Listen, she wanted to practice speaking Spanish with me because
that's nice.
It is nice, and as they didn't really get to look. I'm not fluent in Spanish. I can communicate. I understand, but she did not grow up speaking Spanish. So now she's, been trying to learn Spanish. That's what she wants to do. She asked me one day, we drove up in her driveway and we were talking about it. She says, what if we practice? Let's practice. I'll speak Spanish and you answer me. And so, okay, let's do that. Right.
Instead of I Spy. Instead of playing I Spy.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. She's speaking Spanish and, she's struggling with it,
sure.
and as anyone who's learning Spanish would. However, as she kept going, we practiced back and forth, and she kept going. At one point, and I spoke before I thought, as sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
And I said, Hannah, can we just stop, please? This is very painful for me.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And so, of course,
hurtful.
It was hurtful. And don't worry. I mean, she told everyone that I had said that. Yeah, she told everyone. And it kept coming back, kept coming back. And I said, Hannah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I did that. I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, that
was
good.
That was good.
Yeah.
But I also have not said again, let's practice again. Yeah. So maybe that's part of the process that I need to keep working on.
But you asked for forgiveness, and that was what's important.
Right.
Well, some people don't know how to ask,
mm-hmm.
And typically I'll hear something like that. Like, okay, well, if I have to forgive, how do you do it? Especially if you've never done it before.
That's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
That somebody, you don't know how to apologize.
That's okay. We have an answer.
Yeah.
We have an answer because we have an approach here on forgiveness. So get your paper and pencil out and jot down a little bit here. But the approach here it's a 4-pronged approach, right? There's 4 things that you want to do when you're asking someone for forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you want to do is admit that you hurt the other person first.
Right.
Then you want to make sure that you show remorse when you're asking for forgiveness. Next, you want to show a desire to make amends. It's important
mm-hmm.
to want to make amends for hurting someone. And then finally, you want to ask for the person's help in accomplishing this. It's a formula almost, right? So it's, I'm sorry, I, XYZ, fill in the blank. In this example, I'm going to put yelling at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
For yelling, right?
Uh-huh.
So it sounds like this. I'm sorry I yelled at you. Will you please forgive me? I will try not to yell at you again. Will you help me by calling it to my attention before I get to that point? There's that 4-pronged approach, right? So again, you've admitted how you hurt the other person. You've shown remorse. You've shown a desire to make amends, and you've asked the other person's help in accomplishing this. So it's pretty straightforward, and you can practice.
Right.
Write it down and see how it goes. It sounds simple.
I think the other thing
easier said than done.
The other thing to note here is in this approach and these steps that we use, it's also the tone of your voice.
Yes.
Again, communication.
Yes.
This is communication. So you need to truly be sincere.
Yes.
You shouldn't go apologizing if you're not sincere.
Exactly.
So, a good
point.
point is also to reflect. Maybe think about what you're going to say. Like how are you going to say it?
Mm-hmm.
What message do you want to get across to the other person?
Rehearse it before you do it. So when we forgive ourselves, what we're saying is, I'm human. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I messed up. And then we give ourselves grace and love and start to let it go a little bit at a time.
Absolutely.
And make amends to yourself. And make amends to yourself and learn and grow into a more positive, productive person.
Yeah. We have to, again, the choices. We have to make the choice. I choose to forgive so that my mind is clear and I can think straight. And in turn, make the decisions that I need to required of me, whether it's at home with the family, job, socially. It's an opportunity to heal, which increases our hope and our self-esteem.
Yeah.
Again, think of forgiveness as a gift that you give yourself, the gift that keeps on giving.
Yes. And it's about practice, right? Practice.
We spoke about rehearsing what you're going to say, and as you practice and say it over and over, there's a mental shift that develops over time.
Right.
Retraining the brain.
Yeah.
So it becomes easier.
Yeah. No, yeah. Practice makes better. Our hope is that listeners got a good idea of what forgiveness is all about and the benefits of it, and just how important it is to add it into your life.
Right.
It's only going to help you in the long run, and that's all we're trying to do here, give you the tools and resources that you need to be the best person you can be. And we ask you to be open to it and just reflect on it, absorb it a little bit, and then make the choice, make the decision you need to make for yourself.
And, when giving yourself that grace, remind yourself, I am a good person, and I am trying to be the best person I can be when I forgive.
Absolutely. All right, that's another one for the books. Thank you all for joining us for this podcast. If you like what you've heard, please hit the subscribe button, and please do us a favor and share it with your friends. You're welcome to subscribe to our blog on our website at CrixellCounseling.com. That's CRIXELL counseling.com. Any suggestions you may have for upcoming podcasts are always encouraged, so please let us know what you want to hear about. If social is your thing, you can find me on Instagram at CrixellJr.Alfred. What's your IG handle?
Mine is Anna Crichell. That's ANACRIXELL. If you haven't started following us yet, please go follow us right now. And you know what? Leave some comments. If there's something, we'd like to get some feedback. And if you have some ideas of topics that you'd like to hear about, let us know in the comments. Please keep coming back for more.
All right, good stuff, Let. Thank you for sharing a little bit of you on the podcast today, and I can't wait for the next one. Life is a journey, everyone. Thank you again for allowing us to share a little piece of our life with you. Remember, you are not alone. We are in this together. We got this. Talk soon.
Bye.